Hello, I'm Richard Ridge for BroadwayWorld. Richard Thomas made his Broadway debut at the age of 7 in Sunrise at Campobello and has been working ever since. Now he is back on Broadway as Horace in Manhattan Theatre Club's stunning production of Lillian Hellman's The Little Foxes and has been nominated for a Tony Award for his riveting performance. And I caught up with Richard here at the legendary Sardi's just days before Tony's big night. Thanks so much for sitting with me here at Sardi's.
My pleasure.
Your portrait is here somewhere.
They move it around. It was at the bar for a while, but maybe they figured I'd had enough. They moved me somewhere else.
We'll have to look at the small bar downstairs and we'll look at the second floor bar.
Okay, good.
How exciting. You're giving one of the most memorable performances of this or any other season.
Oh, thank you so much. That's very kind.
What's it like being back on Broadway, specifically in Lillian Hellman's Little Foxes?
Well, being back on Broadway is always just great. I mean, it's home, really, for me. And but this particular constellation of colleagues is really special. I mean, I loved working at MTC before when I did Enemy of the People. I've always wanted to work with Dan Sullivan. I had loved both those ladies, Laura and Cynthia. I worked with Cynthia years back when she was, I think, about 15 in the television version of 5th of July.
Yeah.
And I love them both. It's a wonderful play. Horace is a great part. And so it was just the most astonishing. I mean, it wasn't just like, here's a show, would you do this show? It was like, this is the show you've been waiting to do.
Yeah.
So it was such a treat, just the invitation.
What are you enjoying the most?
Well, because I'm now officially a senior citizen, probably the sitting in my dressing room during Act 1 and listening to them out there doing all that work. No, I love it's the time on stage with the people. I mean, the whole company, all 10 actors are superb and wonderful people. The level of collegial goodwill is very high in this show, so we're all having a great time. I do actually love sitting in the dressing room and listening to how the act is going, how they're doing, how the audience, what the water's like, what's the enemy like today, but the whole event of being on stage with them is just great. I look forward to it every show, I have to say. Even the matinees. Matinees, the audiences love. It's a great matinee show.
Well, it's a great play. I mean, you talk about words.
Well, it's a wonderful play. It's a great sort of in the style of a kind of 19th century domestic melodrama, but with this great and Southern Gothic, but with this great social conscience. That's Hellman, of course.
Yeah.
And so while you're being entertained with this wonderful, piece of sort of potboiler writing, you're getting an extraordinary point of view about our society, about family, and it's so you get both. You get a play with great seriousness of intent, but with wonderful entertainment value as well. It's hard to beat.
We were talking about Broadway. There's nothing like a Broadway debut. You made yours at the age of 7?
I did. I think I was 1958.
Yeah.
7. Sunrise at Campobello at the Court Theater.
Yeah.
Made my entrance with James Earl Jones.
It
was also the show in which he made his Broadway debut.
You and I talked about this before. You used to stand in the wings. What did you learn from him? Just standing in the wings. Yeah.
Well, I don't know what I learned at 7. I mean, what I learned really from him was just what a sweet, dear person he was. Because here I was a kid. He was a little older than I was at the time, and we had our bathing suits on. We were coming in from a swim, and we were and he would play with me, and we'd work up a sort of a fun thing so that when we ran on stage together, we were laughing and playing and having fun. And he was just the sweetest, dearest man, and put me right at ease. And I mean, I had been on stage prior to that, but he just did everything he could to make that entrance the most wonderfully real and fun thing. And I've never sort of lost that feeling about how do you feel about making your first entrance in a play? What can you do about that. And he was, he was just a dear, sweet man, and still is, obviously. So.
What a masterclass at 7.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I was just thinking about how itchy that bathing suit, that wool one-piece bathing suit was. You know, kids are in another headspace. You know, it's not like, wow, I'm making my Broadway entrance with James Earl Jones, who was like 20-something. You know? It's like, oh, here we go. This is really itchy, but I hope I remember my lines, you know.
That's amazing.
Well, it's kids. But kids are made for the theater. It's the most natural place in the world for children to be, in my opinion.
Yeah. You always do stage. I mean, you do TV and film and everything, but you always find your way to come back to the stage, don't you?
Oh, sure. I don't think of it as coming back to the stage. I think of it as going back to television. It's kind of a flipped perspective for me. I mean, I love it. I love it. I love it all. I love working in front of the camera. I love it. I've been a very lucky actor. I've been able to do all of it my whole life, you know. But I would be lying if I didn't say that the theater was, to me, the first place and sort of home.
What does this Tony nomination mean to you?
Oh, it's just the best thing. I mean, you know, I was so surprised. I didn't even know it. They were announcing that day. It was just my wife who said, "You better wake up. Your phone has been ringing like crazy. I hope one of the kids isn't in trouble." So I picked it up and I looked at it. I said, "Oh no, they're okay. It's a Tony nomination. Let's back to sleep." No, it was a great. It was a great morning. I was completely surprised, totally, and deeply gratified because I do love this part and I love this company and this show. So I'm very proud as part of this production. But it was an unlooked for, honor, and I've just been having a great month. It's just been wonderful. And at a certain point, after next year, it's like 60 years from my debut. It's like, oh, when am I going to check that box? No, I don't have to think about that anymore. But the nomination, and we all say this, right? Everybody says this, like the nominations. But it is, in fact. It is. It really is the thing, you know? And, I've been on this road before with the Emmys and with other things, but these guys in my category are also wonderful. I know them all, some better than others, but I know them all. And I've seen a couple of these performances, which are fabulous. I mean, it's just a fantastic company to be in with those guys. So, it's all good.
Yeah. You have had so much success and many successes throughout your career, but I want to talk about the pop culture phenomenon, the Waltons.
Oh, sure.
How do you look at the Waltons? What are your favorite memories?
Well, you could probably divide it into the career aspect, which was like, wow, what a shock to all of a sudden have this show be an international thing and be, and I was 22 when I was 21 when I was 21 when I started filming the first season. So, it was, that's a lot at one time. And I'd been working my whole life, obviously, before that. But it was unbelievable in the leverage that it creates and the privilege that you have in the business with this kind of success. But then there's also the fact that it was a show that I could really be proud of. The writing was good, the acting was good, the intention of the show was high and good. So it's a show I'm proud of. And number 3, and probably the most important because it's the thing that I still have, the relationship with the people.
Yeah.
Michael Learned, who's a dear friend, and the kids, we all stay in touch with each other. And, they were all so sweet about this nomination, writing to me. And we have our little reunions as we can. And, it was really like an extended family. So, whenever people go, is it okay to talk about that? Or does it bother you when people remind you of that? No, it's a wonderful thing. I'm proud of it. It makes me happy, and it'll probably be on my tombstone.
Was there a teacher or a mentor when you were starting out that really got you, that sort of set you on your path to being an actor?
My parents, I'd have to say, because I never studied.
You didn't?
No, I've taught, but I've never studied. I was, acting, it's the thing about academy, about conservatory acting and training, which is wonderful, and thank God we have it, and so has produced so many wonderful artists over the years, is that, originally in the theater, it's more of an apprenticeship situation. I was a child actor. I was cast as a kid. When you're cast as a kid, you're playing somebody's kid usually, so the mentor figures are usually the people playing your parents and I had a lot of great ones growing up. The director, of course. But basically, I mean, it comes from my family. You know, my parents were ballet dancers and then teachers, and I lived in that world. My home life was the ballet world, and my personal life outside of that was the theater, was acting. But, you know, there's a lot of discipline in that world. My parents were very disciplined people, and they had a very clear and good sense about going to work and about being in the theater. I was in the theater from the time I was a toddler, or even smaller. So it was the world that I was literally grew up in, and they were there teaching me, and I would have to say they were my mentors for sure. But as I embarked on my journey, you know, wonderful actors and actresses, Geraldine Page and Julie Harris and Barbara Bel Geddes, and you know, and Francho Tone and you know, I mean, Ben Gazzara and Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward and people. I mean, these people that are people that you just learn, you sit at their feet and learn. So I've been very lucky, my whole life as a child actor and an adolescent actor to be playing with older, very accomplished people who are not only superb at what they do, but who have pretty much managed the shoals and narrows of fame and of success. So you learn about that as well.
Yeah.
You know, and collegial behavior and collegial values, which is so important.
If you could sum up the best part of the experience of working on The Little Foxes,
Well,
what's it for you?
I couldn't pull it down to one thing, but right now the best experience is having a Tony nomination and being able to go into the theater and do the show every night. So that you have that honor, but it's not like something I finished a few months ago. It's I get to go in every night and do the play while I'm feeling this other feeling. And those two things together are just magic, and I don't expect them to be repeated, and I'm going to savor, I'm going to make it good to the last drop.
And there, Bertie, goes the man who has opened the door to our future.